This presentation will focus on how to negotiate a job and salary offer. Negotiation is the process of deciding what resources two or more parties will give and take in an exchange. It is important to remember that this process involves trade-offs. So let's get started. Refrain from discussing salary or other negotiable terms in an interview. During the first interview, you do not have leverage to negotiate employment terms. They have not offered you a position with their company yet. You should wait until the employer has officially extended an offer to you. However, what if an employer asks about salary expectations or requirements during an interview? How would you respond to this question? Here are a few responses that we prefer when it comes to answering this question. For instance, you could say, I realize that salary is an important issue, and I hope to discuss it with you in the near future, but I'd prefer to first focus our discussion on other issues such as my skills, experience, and education. Or, my requirements are negotiable. You could also say, I expect to be compensated at a rate that is commensurate with my education and experience. Or, what would you hope to pay someone in this position? If all else fails, give a very wide range. However, this range must have credibility behind it. Before giving a range, you still must do a considerable amount of research into the position to extend a reasonable range. Offers are usually extended by phone. Once the employer has expressed interest in hiring you, you should not accept or decline the offer right away. You should first tell them that you are considering the offer and ask how much time you have to make the decision. 2 weeks is usually standard for consideration. If you need more time, it is acceptable to request it. After receiving the offer, you should first return back to a clear state of mind. Sometimes the excitement of a new and possibly amazing opportunity can fog your ability to think clearly and make appropriate decisions about your future. Consider whether or not you would want to work for this organization. Do you think this organization is a good fit for you? Does the company's values and goals align with your own? If not, maybe it is best you regretfully decline the offer. However, if you believe this is the right company for you, consider all the employment terms. Decide which issues are the most important to you and why. Which terms do you feel it necessary to negotiate? Inform other employers or organizations that you have received an offer, but do not provide too many details about the position. Try to find out the timelines of the other organizations to see how much time you have until they reach a decision. If necessary, try to negotiate even more time with the first company. This will allow you the opportunity to hear from each potential employer before making the final decision. Research data to back up what you are asking for in your counteroffer. Preparation is the most important element of negotiation. The side with the most information wins. You can research issues such as salary, benefits, and the needs and concerns of the employer. I will talk about where to do some of this research later on in the presentation. Set goals and expectations to achieve during the negotiation. Gathering information and determining your employment requirements is very important before facing negotiation with a potential employer. You must know what you want before you begin. Arrange a quiet place and an efficient amount of time to discuss all your employment terms. Start the conversation off by thanking them for the offer. Again, know your leverage. This is where you utilize all the research and information you have gathered during your negotiation preparation. Demonstrate that what you want is in concert with the institution's goals. Avoid fixating on one term. Remember, it is about trade-offs. If the employer will not budge on salary, maybe turn your negotiation to benefits. Lastly, know how to respond to no. there is more to negotiating a job offer than just salary. Here are some other negotiable terms you may want to consider. Flex time, benefits, such as memberships, parking, and vacation days, relocation fees, and professional development, such as paid trainings, conference travel, and tuition reimbursement. You should remain professional, grateful, positive, confident, respectful, and accurate at all times during the negotiation. You cannot go into the negotiation process with inaccurate facts about the position or salary expectations. Also, don't threaten or act too desperate for a certain salary or benefits package. Though the negotiation can happen via email, phone, or in person, always get the final offer in writing. This is so you know exactly what you are saying yes to before accepting the position. You can give everything a final look over to make sure it possesses the employment terms discussed during negotiation and nothing has changed. Here are a few negotiating mistakes new professionals tend to make if they are new to the world of negotiating. Settling or not negotiating at all. By settling for an offer you feel in your heart is too low will not only set you back financially, but also eat at you until you finally begin to seriously dislike your job and/or employer. Revealing how much you would accept when considering your salary. The earlier you give up this information, the less room you will have for negotiating a better offer when the time arrives. Focusing on need rather than value. Employers don't care that your salary won't cover your mortgage or student loan payment. If you plan to negotiate a salary, do it on your value and the value you bring to the prospective employer. Weak research or negotiation preparation. There is no excuse for you, as a job seeker, to not know your market value. You can find information on salaries on sites such as salary.com, salaryexpert.com, and by using the NACE salary calculator on Career Services website. Accepting a job offer too quickly. If you have been waiting weeks or even months to hear back from a company about a particular position you had your eye on, it is normal to want to accept right away. However, it is best to have some time to go over the position in detail and with a clear head before accepting too quickly. Asking for too many changes in the counteroffer. If you decide to make a counterproposal, remember that you should only pick the one or two most important elements. If you know the company is unable to negotiate a better insurance package, maybe try to negotiate a little higher salary instead to cover cost. Taking salary negotiations personally. If the negotiations go awry, move on graciously, thanking the employer again for the opportunity because you never want to burn any bridges. We've discussed some general do's and don'ts during a job negotiation. Now let's discuss how to negotiate your future salary. Why should you negotiate salary? They have invested in you. You are the chosen one. A large percentage of employers offer less because they expect the potential candidate to negotiate. 90% of employers reported that they want their applicant to accept the offer and be satisfied and happy with their decision. This is the only time you truly have leverage to negotiate, and accepting an offer you feel is too low will follow you throughout your career. The worst that could happen is they could say no. The biggest salary mistake is not negotiating at all. Take a chance and negotiate. Here's some convincing statistics about men and women who decided to negotiate. Men who negotiate receive 4.3% better salaries on average. Women who negotiate receive 2.7% better salaries on average. Throughout one's career, this can equal $1.7 million more for men and $1 million more for women. An employee who successfully asked for a 5% salary bump on a $40,000 job offer when she is 22, for instance, will make an extra $170,000 by the time she retires at age 65, based on an average annual salary growth of 3%. Do you think it's worth it now? NerdWallet also says that 62% of recent grads are not negotiating. However, the graduates who do negotiate, 80% of them were at least partially successful. 74% of employers have room to increase their first offer by 5 to 10% during negotiations, and 90% of employers say they have never retracted an offer because an entry-level candidate tried to negotiate. When extending a job offer, how often do candidates try to negotiate salary? Only 10% of people surveyed said often, and 41% of people said infrequently. Where do you fall in this survey? Is it possible you are one of those people who is potentially leaving money on the table? Why is the number of people who choose not to negotiate so high? Could it be the fear of an employer's perception, the fear of losing the offer or creating conflict, or could it be the fear of negotiating poorly and hearing the word no? Put some of these fears to rest by going into a negotiation prepared. Know your worth and value and what value you bring to the company. 80% of recruiters said an applicant who negotiates professionally makes a better impression than one who doesn't. I think this cartoon does a good job at explaining why you need this important information. Determine your value by looking at your experience and education, as well as any skills that may benefit someone in the position. Again, knowing your value and worth takes research. Research average salaries by region on Glassdoor.com, Salary.com, or the Occupational Outlook Handbook. You could also look at other websites and resources, such as the Bureau for Labor Statistics, Vault.com, the Riley Guide, NACE Salary Calculator, and Coach by Career Builder, to find out helpful information that could aid in your research. Examine your experience thoroughly and ask a professional in your chosen field. This may be your biggest asset at times. If you have built a relationship with someone already working in this line of work, they could provide valuable tips to use during an interview or negotiation. Here are a few ways to go about introducing salary negotiation to an employer. For example, you could say, "This is a great opportunity, and I am interested in the position. I was expecting the salary would be higher given the responsibilities of the job." Or, "I am excited about this opportunity to work with you and your company. I do have a question. What can we do to increase my starting salary?" Lastly, you could even say, "I'm really excited to work here, and I know that I will bring a lot of value. I appreciate the offer at $58,000, but was really expecting to be in the $65,000 range, based on my experience, drive, and performance. Can we look at a salary of $65,000 for this position?" To sum up what we have discussed during this presentation, 84% of employers said an entry-level candidate would not be putting his or her job offer at risk by attempting to negotiate salary. Of the students and graduates who asked for a higher salary, 80% were at least partially successful. There's a significant gender disparity when it comes to negotiation. 29% more male graduates are negotiating job offers than females. Employers said sales, marketing, and engineering departments within their companies were most willing to negotiate with potential employers. Remember, you've already been chosen, so put all fears aside and just do it. This presentation has been presented by University Career Services. If you need other advice on interview skills, job search strategies, or resume and cover letter building, please contact our office at 453-2391 or by email at careerservices@siu.edu to schedule an appointment with one of our staff members. Also, don't forget to check out the events page on our website. Thank you for watching and have a good day.